The time has come for you and I to take a peek at Chit Chat with Manoj. The host of this much-liked segment is Mr. Manoj Singh, who is the CEO of Caesar Productions. In each Chit Chat with Manoj, Mr. Singh is found alongside an interesting guest who is no stranger to the Capital Forum. His name to fame is Dr. Shahzad Rehman, who is a clinical researcher as well as a well-known psychologist. Our viewers quite like Dr. Rehman's presentations here, so bearing that in mind, let's meet him once more on our camera.
Welcome to Chit Chat with Manoj. I'm Manoj Singh. Hello, Adab, Namaste. Today I'm doing the part 2, the start of the new Trump administration, different perspectives. And joining me for this discussion is Dr. Shahzad Rehman. He's a practicing psychiatrist, a well-known member of our society. Welcome, Shahzad.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, nice that you took the time to come.
Of course.
So we have a new administration. Donald Trump is the 45th president and has started a lot going on, very aggressive agenda in first 2 weeks, cabinet nominations, the immigration issue, the health plan being discussed on the Hill, so and the environment, and so a lot of news, and in between all of that is of course about his press secretary and his close associates coming and misquoting some of the times. So what is your take on it? It's like people are very anxious, and what is your take on it?
Well, yes, of course. I think that people are anxious not only here but all over the world, and I think that a spate of executive orders has not helped the matters, because it's clear that many of them are not well thought, not legally vetted. For example, the travel ban having been reversed twice now, including today, shows clearly that legal vetting was insufficient. And that seems to be the nature of all the hyperactivity. It's not so much that that you need to be hyperactive and issues decrease and things like that, which sort of suggest almost the way things are done in the third world. We are a mature democracy. We believe in consensus, legal vetting, and working with allies. There have been some spats with allies, stalwart like Mexico or Australia. That's unnecessary. There are better ways to do it. And so on governance so far, it seems that things could improve.
It is one of the questions, being a psychiatrist, I wanted to ask was, it's too early. I don't want to make a judgment call yet. You have to give the benefit of the doubt, but definitely people are very anxious, especially the immigrants, the refugees, people who are well connected with healthcare. So yes. How do they go about with their lives and give it some time?
I think that we are already seeing some of that in action. ACLU, for example, announced that within 2 weeks they have been able to obtain voluntary contributions as much as they get in an entire year. Similarly, churches and synagogues have rushed to the rescue of the immigrant and refugee situation. One of the good things that I'm very encouraged by is how people have come together. There was a mosque in Texas that was set on fire. The Jewish neighbors immediately gave the key of their synagogue. And the kind of solidarity that I'm seeing is heartening. And in the end, America is filled with democratic institutions, as evidenced by the independence of the courts, and people like Judge Gorsuch saying that he's disheartened and demoralized by some of the statements against the judiciary. General Mattis, who is a calming influence as Defense Secretary. So we have institutions, and I hope that that some of this frenzy of activity is which is mainly geared towards satisfying the base, it calms down. Saying that we're doing what we promised in the election season is not does not equal good governance.
Okay, coming to healthcare, Obamacare.
Yes.
You know, a lot was being said, we are going to repeal it, but now suddenly I see a little bit shift on the Hill. Republicans even are now talking about fixing it rather than repealing it because they saw the cost associated with it. There are certain very good, benefits in it, like example, the precondition, the taking care of children until age 26, guaranteed health care with different options, of course, and the cost of healthcare is going up and was going up even before. What is your take from doctor's perspective?
Well, I again mix and marry healthcare with economics. I love America and I want it to prosper. Rural hospitals were closing one after another because they were providing a lot of unpaid care. With the expansion of Medicaid, as well as the availability of Obamacare, has propped up rural hospitals, so our citizens who are far from big cities will not die because their hospitals closed. And if you look at the economic impact of ACA or Affordable Care Act, it has been a total boost to economy, particularly rural economy, where some of the voters who voted for Mr. Trump come in. So it's a good thing that people were criticized for not bringing in the rural voter who was dissatisfied with the state of affairs and did not participate in the prosperity of globalization, immigration, almost $1 trillion companies that we're going to be seeing soon. And it's a good thing that with Obamacare, a lot of these rural hospitals, clinics, etc., are expanding. They're major drivers of jobs and providing health care. So as far as physicians are concerned, large majority of physicians and economists support this. As far as the alternatives to it, there were none. They were just slogans that we're going to make a provide a better one. It's going to be fabulous. But that does not make policies, and the policies are made with hard work, and that's what it was. So they'll be tinkering. I don't think that complete repeal is going to be in the interest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, as a general citizen, what we want is the best option. You know, we hear about the Scandinavian countries, Canada, UK. Yes, they do have some drawbacks, like there is a little bit of longer wait. But then I recently heard in UK actually that if the wait is long, but if you are willing to shell out $60 or $70 pound, then you can be seen immediately or something. They have come up with different options. But one thing I did hear from the citizens of UK and Canada, they are very much at ease. Stress level is down because the government takes care of certain things. So what is your opinion?
Well, the way I see it, again, with economic perspective, we live in what's called creative destruction. That's what capitalism is. So you old things like 8 tracks die and something better like CD or DVD come out. Similarly, if the companies are not able to innovate, and if the people are unable to quit their jobs, to move across the state line or 50 miles away to take another job or to start businesses, how are we going to get entrepreneurs that we need? Because I hear over and over again that people who have pent up energy and they want to make America great again are unable to do that because they have young kids and they don't want to lose their health insurance. So they are sort of stuck in a rut. That's not the way to make America great again. Provide health insurance, affordable and good health insurance to everyone, and that will free people from the worries. And they'll be able to quit their jobs, start their own companies, provide jobs.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. You know, hopefully something good will come out. Now let's go to the travel ban. Very current news. We just are coming here. I heard the district, court again upheld the ban.
Yes.
What would I mean? You travel a lot. I mean,
Yes.
there are certain. They picked 6 countries. You went to the Gulf area and recently to Australia and New Zealand. What are people saying? What is their take on it internationally?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things that I would say about that is that these 7 countries, 3 in Africa and 4 in Middle East, 0 Americans have been killed on American soil by the citizens of these 7 countries, and is ban the answer? You know, when we banned it, what we found that we banned an MIT tenured professor of Sudanese background. She couldn't come back. An Iranian cardiology fellow who was doing seminal work in the field of cardiology was unable to come back. Stanford and Yale graduate students, residents in Cleveland. So we are not catching terrorists. We're basically sort of people who love this country and they're serving this country and they're going to make America great, were held back and returned. So regarding the 7 countries' choice was, Obama administration had questioned those with free visa like Europeans, etc., that if you had traveled to these 7 countries, you could not get a visa at the airport. You would have to go to an interview. That was extrapolated. You know, it is very difficult. So that shows a sort of half-baked ideas that you take something which was meant for something entirely different. It was targeted not at these countries. It was targeted at the Europeans, you know, Muslims and others from UK and France and Germany who traveled to these 7 countries. Question, well, why did you go to Yemen? Were you training? Did you meet at terrorists? But to transpolate that, and banning the countries themselves is half-baked, and that's what we're seeing. It's a good thing that Americans are learning by reading their newspapers that the people we stopped were Ivy League students and professors and physicians and so on. So they now know that this is regressive and unlikely to work.
Well, what I have seen is the Silicon Valley CEOs are totally against it. In fact, a couple of them were even at JFK protesting, Google CEO, Microsoft, and today, in fact, IBM, it came out IBM is against it. So, well, it remains to be seen. I mean, something has to be done to stop ISIS and terrorists. I don't know what the best solution is, and we will. I think it's too early to say anything. Hopefully they'll come up with a good strategy. Now, moving on to the cabinet nominees, mostly ex-CEOs, some have very controversial backgrounds, and some of them are even against the agenda. Some don't believe that global warming exists. Yes. It seems like it's a different approach because Trump himself is from a business background. He's and he's bringing in most of the people who were running a company, CEOs and ex-businessmen, and Amway and Exxon Mobil, and so what is? Do you think, where are we heading?
Yeah, as Neil deGrasse Tyson, the rocket scientist, said that all legislation should be based on rational thinking. A lot of these people may have business background and be billionaires, etc., but their views about environment or education are not consistent with what an educated high school or college educated individual knows. They have a belief system that EPA does more damage to business. It does not. Coal was killed by gas, not by EPA. So sort of there's a lot of alternative facts which these people possess. And I don't know how they became billionaire because this country is great, but there seems to be an anti-intellectualism in a number of these candidates. There are some very good, General Mattis as Defense Secretary, or the Supreme Court nominee, who said that he's disheartened and demoralized by the treatment of judiciary. And a couple of other people. Michael Flynn, on the other hand, he's a conspiracy theorist. He spread rumors that Hillary Clinton and John Podesta, his son, and he endorsed it, were running a pedophile ring. And this sort of alternative facts, and like I was reading Breitbart News, and it said that the mosque shooter in Quebec City shouted Allahu Akbar and was a Moroccan terrorist. It turned out there was a homegrown fanboy of the current administration and had posted repeatedly about supremacist. So there's a lot of disingenuous and disregard of truth.
So I know, of course, people have different opinions on this, from different background, whether it's a Democrat or Republican. Now, one thing is very clear. He had a platform right from the beginning. And he talked about big change, he talked about stopping terrorism, and there's a big base, mostly in the Midwest states, that he will bring back the jobs. So it seems like the first 2 weeks is not a surprise. Only thing I see, which this is my personal opinion, that he's going too fast on it, like you said, half-baked thought or whatever. He seems to be fulfilling the promise of the people who voted him to be in the office. But because what has happened, there's a sort of media, this thing uproar going on, opposition going on, because they made a little bit of snafus also in their press releases. What do you think? I mean,
well, I don't think it's the inexperience. I think it's a world view. We heard this speech that there's an American carnage. Regardless of the hyperventilation and heavy, breathing about terrorism and this and that, we are living in the most peaceful time ever. In a span of 30 years, Europeans killed, there were 70 million people killed in the World War. Then there was Vietnam War. Then earlier part of this century, there was Iraq War and Afghanistan War. Compared to all of that, and I'm not discounting people who have suffered or who lost family. We have a few hundred people who die from terrorist attacks. I remember in the 70s, it was difficult to go to London because of IRA bombing. And some of these supporters like Flynn and Pete King, they were sending money to kill people in London. And now they're talking about terrorism. These were aiders and abettors of terrorists. So in other words, the facts are wrong, because we do live, America has seen unprecedented economic expansion. People have been left behind, and those people are angry, and they need to be paid attention to.
Any advice to the Trump administration to going forward? He is the president for next 4 years, and we all want the best.
I would say make America great again. By disrespecting allies and by sowing anxiety all over the world, we're going to shrink the American economy. Please don't do that. Expand the American economy. And that is done by being welcoming and inclusive.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That's very nice. Thank you for the your closing comments. And now it's time to end. Like I always say in the end, life is short, have fun, and have no regrets. All the best.